Welcome back. I'm Grim Jim, the Underteller. I don't bury the dead, I tell the stories the living forget. Sometimes a mystery ends not with answers, but with a discovery so terrible it silences a town forever. This is the story of Bernice Worden, the woman whose disappearance exposed the darkest secret in Plainfield, Wisconsin. My assistant and loyal servant Morty Grimsnatch, short for Mortimer, will explain. Take it away, Morty.
Plainfield, Wisconsin, November 16, 1957. It was the opening day of deer season. Bernice Worden's hardware store should have been buzzing with customers. Instead, it was empty. After spending the afternoon hunting, Deputy Sheriff Frank Worden returned to Plainfield around 5 p.m. to check on his mother. When he stepped into the family hardware store, the door was unlocked, the lights were still on, and blood stained the floor. A receipt lay near the register for a gallon of antifreeze. The name on it was familiar: Ed Gein. Bernice Worden was a 58-year-old widow who ran the hardware store with the help of her son, Frank. However, on the day in question, she was working by herself. Like many of the other residents, Frank ventured off into the snow-filled woods with his rifle, eager to claim his first big buck. Worden was known around Plainfield as polite but cautious, a steady hand who kept to herself and treated everyone fairly. She trusted her regular customers, the ones who came in often and never caused trouble. Among them was a quiet man named Ed Gein. And on that cold November morning, she sold him a single gallon of antifreeze, never realizing it would be the last sale she'd ever make. Frank Worden knew Ed Gein. Everyone in Plainfield did. He was the quiet man who did odd jobs around town, lived alone on a decaying farm, and kept mostly to himself. By nightfall, sheriff's deputies were at Gein's farmhouse door. Inside, they found a horror no one was prepared for. The air was cold, thick with the smell of death and rot. Hanging from the rafters was the body of Bernice Worden, headless, gutted like a deer. Her heart in a plastic bag by the stove. Her head was found in a burlap sack. A woman's skull, carefully removed and preserved in a box. A face, folded inside a paper bag. It didn't belong to Bernice, it belonged to Mary Hogan. Police find body parts from multiple women in Gein's home. Ed Gein was taken into custody without a struggle. When questioned, he spoke softly, like a child telling a bedtime story. He admitted to visiting cemeteries at night, digging up fresh graves, bringing parts of the dead home to keep him company, and when asked about Mary Hogan, the tavern keeper who'd vanished 3 years earlier, Gein smiled and said, "She's here, in the house." Plainfield was never the same. Reporters swarmed the streets. Neighbors locked their doors for the first time. Months later, the townspeople burned Gein's farmhouse to the ground, trying to erase the memory. But evil has a way of lingering, in stories, in whispers, in shadows. March 20, 1958, Ed Gein declared legally insane. Among the many disturbing stories surrounding Ed Gein, none is as tragic as that of Bernice Worden and her son, Deputy Sheriff Frank Worden. Bernice was the last confirmed victim of the Butcher of Plainfield, murdered on November 16, 1957. What makes this crime even more cruel is that it was her own son, Deputy Sheriff Frank Worden, who had to investigate her disappearance, and, soon after, discover that Gein was responsible for her death. He was also the first to find her, mutilated and strung up in the barn like Gein. The horror of that discovery followed him for the rest of his life. Unlike what's often shown in modern adaptations, Frank never participated in the auction of Ed Gein's belongings. He condemned it, calling it an insult to the victims and a shameful spectacle. When Gein's farmhouse burned to the ground, Frank and the other families saw it as a symbolic act of justice, a way to finally silence the darkness that had consumed Plainfield. He stayed with the Plainfield Sheriff's Department for several years, but rarely spoke of the case again. Haunted by what he'd seen, he found brief solace in the bottle, though he never lost his sense of duty. Frank Worden died on August 6, 2001, in his hometown of Plainfield, at the age of 78. He was laid to rest beside his family, far from the shadows of the house that changed his life forever. Bernice Worden's death finally revealed the truth about Mary Hogan, and the twisted mind of the man responsible for both. Books and movies would try to make sense of it all, but none could capture the chill of that quiet town in 1957. Bernice Worden was a mother, a business owner, a neighbor. But to Ed Gein, she became something else entirely, a symbol of a world he couldn't control or understand.
As some say, the spirits of Plainfield still wander the frozen fields, searching for the pieces of their souls that never found peace. And sometimes, on quiet winter nights, the wind carries their names, faint, but never forgotten. Thank you for watching. My friends of the macabre, if this story stirred something in your soul, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell, so you'll never miss the next tale that creeps out from the dark.